Welcome to Clothesline Theatre. We have been waiting for you to tune in to hear tales of Prince Edward Island, a place of history and some mystery. You may be surprised by the true stories that have been unearthed and brought to life by our radio dramas. We invite you to settle into a comfortable chair and let the voices and sounds trigger your imagination as you hear the following dramatic story.
Born in Summerside, Prince Edward Island, in December of 1872, to the prominent family of a judge, Florence Kelly would grow up to spread her wings far beyond the shores of her childhood home. She also broke through many of the boundaries that defined the role of women of the day. She graduated as a nurse from the Bellevue Hospital in New York City in 1895 and was known to enjoy good music, dance, clothes, and entertaining young men in the common room of the nurse's residence. 4 years after she began her career, she headed off to nurse in the Spanish-American War. A decade later, when her best friend, Margaret MacDonald, was made the matron-in-chief of the Canadian Army Medical Corps at the start of the Great War in 1914, Nurse Kelly was determined she too would go overseas.
Florence, I wish you would reconsider your decision.
There's no point of trying to talk me out of it, Constance. I plan to join the Canadian Army Medical Corps. The war that was supposed to be over by Christmas of 1914 is into its second year, and there is a great demand for nurses. I need to go.
I think you have done your duty to humanity by serving in the Spanish-American War. Wasn't the hardship of one war enough for you, Florence?
It was a rewarding experience for me professionally, my dear sister, which is something perhaps you might not be able to understand.
Do not be flippant with me, Florence. Poor mother, God rest her soul, would not want to think of her child pursuing risk yet again, especially when that child is female, less than 5 feet tall, and weighing 114 pounds.
Then perhaps she should not have called me Florence?
I don't understand what your name has to do with anything.
Remember Florence Nightingale, the nurse famous for establishing nursing and care guidelines during the Crimean War?
Regardless, Florence, you seem to have ignored the fact that you are over the age limit of 38, which is the cutoff for nursing sisters in the Canadian Army Medical Corps.
Oh, there shouldn't be a problem with that. I have just borrowed my lovely sister's birthday.
Florence, you never did!
Nursing Sister Florence Kelly was attached to No. 9 Combat Support Hospital, St. Francis Xavier Hospital Unit, and left Halifax on June 10th. 10 days later, she arrived in Liverpool, a city of darkness, which was described as crouching low and squatting at night in its terror.
Sister Kelly, you have been assigned to go immediately to France, to the No.2 Canadian Stationary Hospital at Outreau. However, I must say, there does not appear to be much of you. Please make sure you are well rested upon arrival.
Yes, matron. I may be small, but I am already proven mighty as a veteran of the Spanish-American War. I conquered the mud by putting aside my uniform and putting on a bicycle suit to match my rubber boots.
Ah, a veteran in our midst. You will be proud to know that Canadian nurses are proving themselves highly efficient and effective in this war. It has not always gone over well with our British counterparts, who often like to refer to us as colonials.
Well, they might be envious of the fact that Canadian nurses are the only commissioned officers of all the nurses serving. It's hardly our fault that we have progressive leaders in Canada, or perhaps I should say the colony. It sounds as though the hospital is very active.
Yes, but nothing compared to what can be expected if the rumors are correct about an impending offensive on the part of the Allies. Several other nurses from your island are stationed at hospitals near the No.2, and there has been word that all leaves have been cancelled.
July 1st, 1916, brought with it the start of the 5-month Battle of the Somme, the bloodiest clash of the Great War. The British suffered 60,000 casualties in the first day.
I'm so tired of dealing with bedpans.
You certainly picked a fine time to arrive, Sister Kelly. Thank goodness nursing reinforcements were finally sent.
I would think so. It is difficult to comprehend we had 720 patients come in today.
Many of them are so mangled they would be better dead than patched up.
You're right. How do you embrace life without eyes and a nose?
To think there was not one mark on the rest of his body.
It's so frustrating to contend with the attitude of the medical officers. They want to operate, repair, and get the lads back on the field. Those poor soldiers are in and out of the bed so fast the laundry can't keep up with the linen.
Thank God for the new nurses who do their best for the boys' emotional needs.
If a soldier needs to tell his story and cry, I encourage him by crying right along with him.
I do the same, because I would like to think someone would do it for my brother if he were hurt.
By the time weather conditions forced the Battle of the Somme to draw to a close in November 1916, both sides of the conflict had endured a protracted hell that witnessed the death or maiming of 1 million soldiers, 24,000 of whom were Canadian. The Allies had pushed ahead 13 kilometers into the Somme Valley. Nursing Sister Florence Kelly nursed through the entire battle with little rest or time off. Unlike many nurses, she did not become ill, but at the end of the battle, she was transferred back to England for less strenuous service at a Canadian training school for soldiers at Bramshott in the south of England. 7 months later, April 9th, 1917, in that English hospital, she heard the distant din of guns announcing the start of the Battle of Arras, the beginning barrage of Vimy Ridge.
Sister Kelly, I'm sure that you've heard the guns firing in France?
Yes, matron. They call them 10,000 thunders.
Well, we have new orders for you. You're being transferred to number 3 CSH at Donlin, not far from the Vimy Ridge battlefield. The hospital is located within the citadel, which dates back to the 16th century. The fact that it successfully repelled Spanish invasions in the past assures some safety.
Welcome to number 3 CSH, Sister Kelly. Let me fill you in on the difficult situation that we are facing here. The cold, combined with the rain, sleet, and heavy winds, is creating terrible conditions for everyone. Heavy numbers are coming in daily.
I am ready to do whatever is needed for the men in the hospital, matron.
There is a substantial increase in the number of patients who have been gassed. They have to be given continuous oxygen, which requires almost one-on-one nursing. But the decision makers seem unable to give us more nurses. I advise you to try to rest when you can.
The cold of April 1917 gave way to high temperatures, and by mid-June soldiers were being admitted with heat stroke. The lack of evacuation trains meant recovering patients could not be moved out to make way for the incoming wounded. And by June, the 750-bed hospital was up to 895 beds with no additional nurses.
Ah! There's a German! There's a German! Get away from me! Get away from me!
It's okay, Private. You just saw a shadow. Drop the pan. Just drop it easily. I'm not the enemy. There, that's it. Look at me. I'm nursing Sister Kelly and you are safe in a hospital. Look around and you will see that you are safe. Now, let's get you back in bed where you can be comfortable. We'll take care of you.
But they're coming for me. Help me! Stop this ringing in my head! Ow!
Stop! Stop it! I can't stand the noise. My head is going to explode.
Breathe deeply, Private. Breathe deeply. Breathe. Just try to stay calm while I get you a sleeping draft.
Sister Kelly, is there anything that I can do to help you?
Yes, thank you, sister. If you could just stay with this soldier while I go get him some medication, and then maybe you could make us some tea so I can settle my nerves. Oh, thank goodness we can sit down for a few minutes. I'm finding it very stressful to deal with the sudden outbursts from some of these wounded.
There are more and more soldiers coming in shell-shocked. Their behavior is so erratic and unpredictable. It scares me sometimes.
It would help if the medical officers could agree on the root cause of the condition and the best treatment for it.
How can they when they all present so differently? Some are blind, mute, or paralyzed, while others see things and are fearful and violent.
And others can't eat or sleep, or some have a dazed thousand-yard stare. And dizziness, amnesia, headaches, and tremors, and I guess you're right. There is no simple answer.
Sister Kelly did not expect to become a patient in her own hospital, but by May, she succumbed physically and mentally to overwork and was admitted. Within 2 weeks, she was back at work, but within a fortnight was readmitted for debility.
I'm sorry, matron. If you just give me a few hours rest, I'll be back on the wards.
There is no point in arguing that you are fit to continue on, Sister Kelly. It is obvious that you have lost weight and are totally run down. Your roommates report that you are not eating or sleeping.
But I can't let you or the patients down. There's so much need.
If you don't take care of yourself first, you cannot take care of anyone else. The medical officer will sign the papers for your admission to hospital in England.
Nursing Sister Kelly was sent to England for 2.5-month recovery, first in hospital and then in the nurses' convalescent home in Margate. But she was a warrior, and by late September of 1917, she was back at work. She celebrated the armistice in France as part of a large parade. She pooled her money along with the other nurses and officers to give their 1,528 patients a splendid celebration dinner, followed by a concert. On the eve of her departure to Canada, she received the prestigious Royal Red Cross Second Class from King George at Buckingham Palace and had tea with Queen Mother Alexandra at Marlborough House.
It's so good to be going home whole in body and mind. For a time I was not sure that would be the case.
You are one of the fortunate ones, Sister Kelly. For many, the physical and emotional scars may never heal.
May the world never again know carnage like the Great War.
Nursing Sister Florence Kelly, Confronting Shell Shock. Presented by Wyatt Heritage Properties Inc. Narrator, Stuart Smith. Constance, Michelle Askew. Nurse Kelly, Sarah McIntyre. Matron 1, Charmaine Comeau. Nurse 1, Jennifer Beck. Matron 2, Susan Rogers. Matron 3, Janet Rose Hurst. Soldier 1, Wayne Wright. Soldier 2, Jordan Stetson. Nurse 2, Patty Arsenault. Nurse 3, Catherine Dixon. Introduction, Lowell Eustis. Musician, Christine Anderson Gallant. Foleys, Alexandra Gallant, Krista Bryson, Nathan Wiley. Recording engineer, Peter Gallant. Scripts written by Marlene Campbell. Based on research by Catherine Dewar for her book titled Those Splendid Girls, Prince Edward Island Nurses in the Great War. Any errors in historical accuracy in the composition of the script are the responsibility of Wyatt Heritage Properties. This project has been supported by the Building Communities through Arts and Heritage Program of the Department of Canadian Heritage.